Hey, everybody, and welcome to Variant Roles as we progress into the beginning of season 2 of Urban Shadows, Juneau, Darkness Beckons. I'm Taryn Winnie, and I'll be your MC, and we're just going to go ahead and introduce ourselves and where we can find each other, and tell us who you're playing. Maybe give a little bit more description this time since we're kicking back off after a long break. I promise I actually know what I'm doing. It's just been a while. Yeah, so let's start with Maria.
Hello. Hello, I'm Maria. You can find me at Happy Capster on the internet. I use she, they pronouns, and today I will be bringing back my role as Kay Belton, who uses they, them pronouns. Kay Belton is a one of the tainted playbooks, which means that they have made a pact with some sort of demonic entity. One that in past season, they were hesitant to do anything with. But who knows what darkness will beckon them? Was there anything else that you need me to say?
No, that's
Oh,
good.
cool.
We'll tap into character stuff more later.
Okay.
Who wants to go next? Just hop on down to Ty.
I'm Ty. I use he, him pronouns. But you can find me on Ballroom Brawler on Twitter. I am playing Brody Jensen, the Oracle. I was Brody in season one. He is just a hippie who does a lot of drugs and just wants to tell people the truth about their future. He doesn't. He's a monster.
That's true. But yeah, Max.
Hi, I'm Max, allmax220 on Twitter. I am playing Red, who is a normie human aware of the supernatural and ended the last game bleeding out in the snow, so it's going to be fun to find out where that's gone. Yeah.
Is
Pass it
he
on down to Matthew.
playbook?
Oh, well, I'm aware.
What does that mean?
Oh, but there's the normal human who is aware, and he's a private investigator in this game, and came to town looking for a vampire kid, and everything blew up, literally and figuratively.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And last but definitely not least, Matthew W. Foreman.
That's me. Hi, folks.
You're yeah, OBS.
Okay. Hi, folks. I am Matthew Foreman. I am at Matthew W. Foreman on Twitter. I use he, him pronouns. I will be playing the role of Peter Poindexter, who is a former municipal planner and stormwater administrator turned into a specter. That is my playbook, which is a very powerful form of a ghost. He is recovering after being somewhat thwarted and betrayed in his mind, and and he leads a body of ghosts, which are all of his little ghostly underlings.
Awesome. So, thanks everybody for returning back for season 2. Really excited to see where things take us. So, for those of us joining us for the first time, Urban Shadows is a powered by the apocalypse system game. It is based around basically if mythology was real and pretty much the basis of the underbelly of every city in the world. So uh, we're gonna kind of tap into that in a second, but last season on Urban Shadows, we found out what darkness cost. To some of us, it cost our families. Some of us, it cost us our friends. Some of us, it cost us almost our lives. But just because darkness has exacted its price doesn't mean it doesn't continue to beckon and call on everyone Juneau. Last season, we saw friends turn into enemies and enemies turn into friends, and manipulations and accumulation of debts, and everyone weaving their webs of shadows across each other. That culminated in a showdown in the woods, um, where pretty much every player in Juneau had a stake in what happened there. We saw everyone try to play their piece, and well, we're going to find out the aftermath of that tonight. We left Kay and Red in the snow with Red's leg blown off by Benji, a Fae and, well, now Revenant member of the Wild, who has returned and is planning to exact his revenge for his untimely death. He wanted out, and now he is forever in. We then saw Brody and Benji attempt to flee the scene, only to be stopped and tossed into the woods by Peter. So, for Kay and Red, a timely arrival of Steve, the local bartender, a retired hunter, has pulled up in his car and helped you get a now semi-better Red into the back seat and out before the police and FBI arrive. And who knows who else was coming to the scene. Brody and Benji, unfortunately, you were not so lucky. Benji was pronounced dead at the scene, and Brody, due to head trauma, was placed in a medically induced coma for 2 weeks. Peter, who knows what the hell you've been up to? Red has been recovering. Okay, you've been dealing with the loss of almost half your family. So, the first thing I want to do to pick up, Brody, you're an oracle. Just because you're not present in the material plane does not mean that you are not tapped into what's going on around you. You've had a chance to have a couple of visions in this coma. Some would say probably the most vivid visions of your life. Whether it's the recent tapping into your powers and the sort of buildup that the struggles of the last few weeks have brought, or if it's being in such a, non-physically present state, but you almost feel like you're actually present in the scene that you're witnessing, that you can actually reach out and not just see the events, but affect them. So you've had 2 visions, probably more so than anybody else, or more so than that have been vivid than anything else. Who have you had these visions of? Who have you been so concerned of? Who does your subconscious focus on that draws you in? So I don't want you to think about this mechanically in the sense that you're going to acquire a debt on them and mark their faction.
Okay, I think. Oh, that's why we used Roll20. Yes, for factions. I think that there was a reason. I think the first thing, if he can, he would try to see if do I know when these visions were? Is just sometime during like an ambiguous 2-week time.
So you pick who they are, and then we'll kind of either if they're
Gotcha.
an NPC or if they're a player, we'll kind of figure out what kind of scenes have been important over the last couple of weeks.
I think the first thing, or one of the visions, would definitely be Benji, knowing that he had, supernatural abilities, and Brody tried to kind of save him from just leaving him in that woods. I think he would try to picture Benji.
All right. So that's easy to do because that's probably comes about in the very beginnings of your coma. Probably actually the next day. So you're the last thing you remember is driving and all of a sudden rolling through the air. You kind of sort of focus in now on a body being rolled out of one of those freezers in the morgue. being moved from that onto one of the medical examiner's table. And as they roll back, it's clearly your friend Benji. What's interesting, what takes the medical examiner back, is they already have the Y cut into them. That is indicative of a medical examination to determine cause of death. As he pulls back, kind of begins to cut into what's already become scar tissue and open up. And he begins to take notes. And eventually it doesn't speed up, but time passes quickly. And he sews Benji back up and steps out for the evening. Around midnight, you see a spectral hand sort of reach up from underneath the table and wrap around Benji's throat. This sort of begins to lift his body up and upright on the table. And all of a sudden, it then from his throat reaches into his mouth. And he gasps a breath of fresh air for the first time in 24 hours. Checks his surroundings. He begins searching frantically through the morgue for his personal belongings, finds them, and a pistol that you recognize from the scene. And he stumbles out of the morgue. It's first vision. Mark a debt with Benji and Marcus faction. So.
Yep. Benji. And then Benji is wild. Yes.
Let me check something.
Okay.
Because technically his playbook changed.
Oh, right.
But can you be?
Yeah, he's knight. He's knight.
Yeah.
All right. I think we'll come back to your second vision in a bit.
Sure. Yeah.
So, K and Red. Steve was able to get you out of the scene in time. Nobody suspects that you were there. What has now become known as the cabin incident around town. Red, you've been checked up for a couple of days. There's been some soreness in your leg. But for the most part, it seems to be healing fine. What have you guys been up to?
Well, I'm assuming Red's been trying to relearn how to walk with just one prosthetic leg and crutches. Not very easy to get around in the snow-filled Juneau in a wheelchair, so he's trying his best to be able to stay upright and mobile. But since his husband was a physiotherapist, he has a lot of things he remembers from the loss of his other leg that he's able to use for his rehab. Did he ever get to make that call back?
We can do that now.
All right. So, still kind of holding the phone, thankfully, still able to work even after all the blood and melted snow damage. And flicks up his thumb over the call button and just finally gives it a ring.
You just hear a click on. Then some breathing on the other end. Clearly, they're waiting for you to make the first move.
So, hey, Gumdrop, hopefully this is you.
Yeah, Red.
Hey. Sorry I didn't call you back immediately. Been a bit busy.
Sounds like it. I got your message.
I was in a weird headspace when I made the call, but I meant it. I miss you, and been thinking a lot about you and just getting out of the business. It's been too long, and I feel just really bad for not getting a hold of you. Yo, at least me calling to see how you're doing.
I'm fine. I mean, it's been a lot, but you okay?
Well, I lost about 20 pounds, but you're not gonna. I don't really want to talk about my physical state right now. It's I got a little injured in an accident, but don't worry about it. I'm on my foot again, and I'm fine.
Okay. That how's the case going, I guess?
Well, tracking down this kid, and the kid doesn't want to be tracked down. That's what's taken me so long. I'd love to be able to get back, but the guy who's got me hunting this kid has a lot of. It's worth a lot of money, and I'm a little scared of disappointing him.
All right.
But
Well,
this is the last one, and I know I've said that 4 or 5 times now, but I want out of this.
well, I mean, I guess just I don't know. It always feels like it's going to be the last one, whether you want it to be or not.
I'll change my number and move to a different state if that's what you need for me to prove that I don't want to do this anymore. No one will be able to get a hold of me at the old number. The business is closed. I'll find something else.
Just get through this one. Then we can talk.
Do you want me to call you on any kind of regular schedule that you know I'm okay? Do I have a home to come back to?
We'll talk. Not drinking as much as you used to, are you?
I haven't had anything in about 2 weeks. That's another thing I'm working on.
It'll be nice to see. Could find some meetings up there.
Yeah, I've made a few friends, and like I said on the call, I've seen a few things that have scared me off of the left path I'm on. I threw the flask into the snow and haven't even gone looking for it.
That's good.
And if temptation hits me, I will go to a meeting.
Good.
So I'll keep my phone on. If you feel like you want to talk to me, I'll leave it to you, because I'd call you every night if you said you wanted me to.
I know you would, but still working on it.
You got to get going. I know the time zone's a bit different.
Yeah, it's late and it's a lot talking again.
That's a start, I hope.
We'll see. Stay safe.
Talk to you later, Peter.
Bye, Red. And then hang up.
Hey, I'm assuming I'm at the bar that I've been hanging out at.
Yeah, that you have your place now with back room and whatnot.
Hey, Steve, could I get another cranberry juice, please?
Yeah. That works. And go ahead and mark mortality for that.
And marked.
Okay. Okay. What have
Well.
you been up to?
Well, after making sure that Red was fine, or I guess seeing that they would be at least somewhat taken care of with Steve, I would have gone looking for Brody.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have done that first.
So it takes a little bit of searching, but you know some people in the police department, you know some people around town. Eventually you're directed to local hospital.
Will they let me in to see him?
Brody, who do you have listed as your like emergency contact? Actually, that's a good question.
It would be Benji first. Benji would be my emergency contact for sure. But if I had to make a list ahead of time, Kay would have been on it. And that's it. Maybe Eunice, my landlady, too.
If I need to, I do have a debt with Officer Ima that I could cash in. Hang on, let me remember how to do that. Lend a hand in my efforts. Nope, that's a PC. Hang on.
Looking at cashing in a debt.
Yes. If I need to, if that will make this
Debt
so much easier.
moves.
Debt moves already. Okay. Give you a worthy and useful gift without cost, such as
All right.
proceed.
Yeah, that'll definitely get you in.
Sweets. We're doing it, guys. We're playing the game.
You do mark the faction when you have you cash in a debt. So, and I have Emma's mortality. So,
dang it, I had mortality marked already from before.
It's unfortunate.
Oh no, it's fine.
But yeah. So she sets you up with a way to basically gets you on the list for Brody's room.
Cool. How's he looking from an outside perspective?
I mean, there is some serious damage from the accident. Lots of bruising and contusions. It seems like, probably from your guess, that his more activated oracle abilities kept him from being a little bit more grievously injured.
Yeah.
But so no broken bones or anything like that, but obviously hooked up to a lot of machines and very much out of it.
Okay. Kay will walk over to the side of the bed, just kind of look down at this mess of Brody and tubes and wires and everything, and say, "Jeez, what happened to you?" And then they'll, assuming there's like a chair or something nearby, they'll grab it and they'll just sit next to them. And we'll just stay there for a bit in silence, just kind of like trying to piece together what might have happened. He has a pretty good idea, or rather has some theories, but wasn't there, wouldn't know what happened. And I think after just like a few minutes of just kind of sitting there, they'll there's like a few just like silent tears, like those tears that you cry when you've cried so hard that you don't realize you're crying anymore. And they'll say, "Damn it, Brody, I can't lose you too." You'd better get better. And then they'll leave, but they'll come back every day.
As you're sitting there this first time, you
Mhm.
feel what has almost become a normal occurrence these days. A couple of longer than normal icy fingers sort of rest on your shoulder. And an exhale near your ear. I could help them too. Offer them to me.
No, there's a difference. A difference here. I don't think I'll be doing that.
Then we have work to do.
I'll get up and I'll leave. But yeah, I'll come back every day to check up on him.
Okay. Let's go ahead and mark wild on that.
Yay.
Or no, power.
Damn it. I had mortality and power marked already. That's fine.
That's very unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate, but it's totally fine.
You know what? Mark wild for your patron showing up. We'll do that.
I had a question, and I don't know if this
Yes.
is going to be answered now or later. Do I know the name of my patron?
That's going to take some work.
Okay.
That is something you could spend some time working on.
Okay. It's not exactly high on my priority list right now. Yeah, okay.
Okay. Peter, you've had a couple of weeks of downtime. Who have you been haunting?
Wow. Who have I been haunting? Benji.
Okay. So what does it look like for you to find Benji?
1 second.
A phone call.
For my cell phone. I can never turn the alarm off because I'm dead.
It just keeps going through the phone.
Yep.
Frustrating as hell.
I'm watching him as I'm invisible because I'm trying to figure out how to kill him.
So, when would you say you're watching Benji?
During the day.
Okay. Let's say this is 4 days after Benji's like 4th resurrection at this point. It's kind of almost eerie how normal it seems he goes about his day. But as you spend more time watching him, you start realizing that he's not actually really doing anything. He's more just playing the part. He sits down at the diner for lunch and orders food, but doesn't touch it. He goes to the cafe and gets a latte and then walks out and tosses it in the trash. It's a lot of appearing to be normal. I'll say this gives you a debt over him. You know something that he probably didn't want people to figure out.
Benji. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Is there anything else you're hoping to learn from this, or?
Yeah, I want my body of ghosts to be investigating what the hell he is and how to get rid of him.
Okay. It's easy enough. We can come back to that and find out what they find.
Okay.
Let's jump back to Brody and your coma visions.
Yes, because it's a faction I don't have marked. I think I'm going to pick K and see what K has been up to.
All right. So, K. That's about, say, a week and a couple of days since the incident. What's K up to?
I would be trying to figure out what my patron wants me to do specifically, other than just be like, hey, you want to join this really cool gang of people and demon stuff? But also trying to find and keep tabs on Conrad. Figure out what
Okay.
he's been doing.
So there's two veins for this. There's obviously doing some research. And then there's basically a stakeout.
Mm-hmm.
Which do you think?
Kay would not do research.
Okay. So
Kay is not about that life.
So let's do a scene where you're staking out Conrad. I wish I had more information written down about him. Conrad, yes. So obviously, he's entangled in some of the more nefarious dealings that have gone on in Juneau over the last couple of weeks. You remember Red telling you about a shed or a warehouse sort of thing on the island, just off Juneau. Across the bridge, that was the target. You spend some time watching that for a moment, and eventually you catch Conrad bringing a hooded, or not hooded, but sack-covered figure into. You can either spend some time there, or this is a good jumping point for you to start following him other places. But Brody, as you're watching Kay sit inside their vehicle, you kind of watch there, and then you feel yourself kind of being slowly tugged. Just a subtle pull, but consistent towards the warehouse.
I'll follow, yeah.
So as you sort of shift your consciousness's subconscious focus really towards, you sort of, there's no full movement, you're just there. You're just witnessing Conrad, who you've maybe crossed paths once or twice with, but not really. You see this tall, not slender, but thin-ish figure in a black on black suit, placing a figure whose hands are zip tied behind him in a chair, and then pulling out a couple more and repeating a process that Red's very familiar with, that not that you know of, but zip tying them to it. And the bag is removed, and it is someone you are very familiar with. It's Officer Emma. And as she sort of sees herself, or sees light for the first time, she blinks and tries to bring herself into focus and spits on Conrad. Were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to float a little closer to kind of see her reactions.
Okay. So you don't necessarily hear the conversation that goes on. What you get is more of the feelings, the emotions of this interaction. There's a lot of not just anger, but betrayal here. There's condemnation, there's accusation, there's contentment. And eventually, Conrad leads down, flicks out a pocket knife, and cuts her loose. And then bags her head again, leads her out to the car, and they leave. Okay, you see this from your perspective as well, but just the leaving bit.
Do they all leave? Like Conrad
Just,
and everything, or just
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would follow them.
Okay. Yeah. Eventually, Conrad makes his way back to the city, and let's see, where would Juneau's a small town. Where would someone leave someone? There's a lot of like confusion driving where it's, if you've, not that you would ever any of us would do this, but in movies where they like drive around extra so that people can't like follow their tracks back. So what was that? I heard something.
Sorry, I was putting on my Twitch and it was your voice that you heard.
I heard myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and eventually takes them out and drops them out a corner, just like sort of outside of town. But yeah. Do you stick around with the figure or do you follow Conrad?
Can I see? I would follow Conrad.
Okay. Yeah. You follow him to a house not unlike the one that you all ended up at, where you found your sister, whose name I cannot.
Lauren.
Lauren. Okay, that's what I thought.
I read it earlier, so that's how I remembered.
yeah, so and he stays there for the rest of the night, and you've got now a couple of places that you can pick up Conrad if you need to. Yeah, so Brody, kind of a couple of people involved with that scene. Yeah, Mark Wild, I guess.
Okay.
And then you know what? Have a dead on K.
Okay.
So all right. Okay, we kind of did a scene there with you too. What don't you have marked? You have mortality and power, right?
I don't have night marked, which, if I remember correctly,
Conrad is night.
Conrad
Yeah.
is night.
Okay, go ahead and mark that.
Hey, I have an advancement.
So Red. It's been about a week now. You're starting to feel yourself again. What do you get up to? You're muted.
Red doesn't remember how he got out of there or how he was healed. He just remembers waking up and his leg that he clearly remembers being blasted with a shotgun was working again. So I think he's going to gonna call in. He's curious about a lot of how it ended up, so he's going to give a call to the FBI wizard Brian and see what they can tell him about what they know happened that day.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So you call up Brian Crawford.
Yeah. And so hey Brian, haven't heard from you in a little while.
Yeah.
You want to a little sore about the events that went down in the hills?
Who, me? Why would I be sore?
Yeah. I mean, emotionally sore.
We just have an incident with a couple of bodies and no real answers that I can give. No, it's fine.
Look, I don't even remember that well what happened out there. But I know the guy who was in the shed. You figured that part out yet?
Yeah, we ID'd the bodies.
There was another kid there, a vampire. Any sign of him in the area? Bolted out of there pretty fast, and after that, everything just went to hell, and I don't remember which direction he went or how he got out of there.
Do you got a name for this kid, or?
Yeah, Chadwick Van Groot. He's one of the Fangs, but he's in from out of town, and the whole reason I'm here looking for him.
Well, I guess I'll check my file. If he's not one of the big names, probably don't have him exactly classified.
Well, he's been the whole reason the whole incident went down was I was trying to get him back, and good old Saris, they said they had the kid I was looking for. So, but then they went the wrong way about it with me, and I had to take some matters into my own hands. I didn't realize the kid was on their side. I thought he was a prisoner, but I guess we got some information from that then.
Okay.
And some other guy, Crawford. Familiar with that one?
Conrad, you mean Conrad?
Conrad.
I'm Crawford.
You pick these names, man. Too close.
Hey, there's a lot
Conrad
of C's.
and Crawford. There's a lot of C names. Saris, Crawford, Conrad,
Chloe.
Yeah, so Vampire Conrad's probably where the kid I'm looking for is, and he's part of all this stuff too.
Gotcha.
But that'll be the last explosion I cause in town, I promise.
I hope so. But yeah, we should meet for a drink later and maybe not have these conversations over the phone.
Sure. Thought you'd have a secured line.
I mean, I do, but you don't.
I was tapping my old 10-year-old flip phone, I'm telling you.
All right.
All right, so you know the place I usually am.
I do. I do. I'll let you know if we find anything.
Cool. So, no Chadwick. All right. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, call me with the time. I'll be around.
Okay.
So I cashed in a debt, so that'd be power.
Yes.
I got some information that they didn't find Chadwick. And what time of day would this be?
That's up to you. When would you?
Do I know where Peter tends to hang out?
I mean, you know where Daryl lives, so.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go to my usual spot and kind of park the car just a couple houses down and check on Daryl. Just refresh my memory. We did a kind of little time jumping around there. No, okay, never mind. Peter went after Red had that conversation about calling up. So
Yep.
He doesn't know that Daryl and Peter have talked again.
Nope.
Okay,
All
so I'm
right.
going to go to my usual
So-
parking spot and keep staking that out.
Cool. I guess Peter. Who else have you been haunting? It's not like you need sleep.
Right. Well, you know, I got it. She's not here though. I would want to haunt Daphne.
We can work that out next week as well.
Okay.
If there's anybody else.
I remember in season 1, I asked quite a few questions about good old Conrad, so I would go haunt Conrad.
Okay. Conrad. What are you getting up to? Is this a night or day scenario again?
Night.
All right. So Conrad's a vamp. This is a little bit of more of his working hours. He is. Oh, this will be good. He's checking in with a trailer.
Okay.
As you get close, one of your body of ghost kind of begins to because you tend to have like it's not just that they're like, you know, individuals, they're very much like sort of pieces.
Right.
So you start getting not even so much like words, but a feeling of like, this is a bad place.
And it's a trailer?
Yes.
Peter would just... It's too... I have to find out. I would keep going.
So he enters, and you know Tanver, right?
Mm-hmm. I have a debt on him.
Yes. So as Conrad enters, you recognize who he's meeting right away. And they begin discussing pretty much the current ghoul production of the week. And how Tanver's supply is coming along.
So Tanfer and Conrad are turning the ghosts into ghouls?
It seems like Conrad is more. This is more of a business meeting than like a associates meeting. Like this is a transaction.
Tanfer's making or involved in making them. Conrad is just requesting them.
Yes.
Okay. Does the meeting continue, or?
Yeah, it continues for a bit. I'm not gonna play out a scene where I talk to myself for 5 to 10 minutes.
Understood.
But basically the meeting boils down to that Tanfer was promised a supply. Was promised a pretty potent source, and missed out on the opportunity due to unforeseen circumstances a week ago. And so is now back on the hunting trail. Has a few lower grade ghouls, but Conrad's looking for some ghouls that pack a punch.
Oh, is he? Huh. Okay. I think I would wait until perhaps they break, and I would try to interact with Tanfer.
Okay. So yeah, you give Conrad a 15-30 minute window, and you just corporalize in front of.
Yep, I will do sight and sound, but not touch.
Okay. So Tanver obviously is like fiddling with some of his equipment. It's very much like it's like half science equipment, half like beakers and microscopes and shit, and then half much more focused on containment of spirits and that sort of thing. It's a weird amalgamation of these two sides of a coin. But as you sort of like materialize, he's like working on like writing some notes down, and he kind of turns and notices you there and jumps back.
Oh, Tanfer.
Shit.
How are you on this night?
I was doing pretty good until you scared the out of me.
Sorry, I would call before coming over, but cell phones no longer work for me.
That's yeah, that sounds about right.
I've been reflecting on our relationship, our association together, Tanfer.
Yeah. What about?
I'm not so sure it's been working as well as I thought it would. You promised to spy. You've been spying for me on the Beltons, giving me knowledge. But you couldn't let me know that Mr. Belton was killed, or what Kay's brother was up to. I was blindsided twice in the span of a day.
I can only tell you what I know. All happened pretty fast.
Pretty fast indeed.
Yeah.
That's all right. Projects can be difficult to complete. Work is hard.
There's a lot of pressure going on right now.
Your pressure.
I've got a lot of demands I'm trying to meet right now. We're coming from both sides, all sides, you know.
So you could imagine my disappointment when I came over here to visit my good friend Tanfer, only to find you conspiring with a vampire.
What? I mean, you know my business, right, Peter?
I'm not sure I fully understood the extent of it until now.
So you were just listening in?
It's what I
Pretty,
do.
pretty creepy. kind of feel like you invaded my privacy a little bit.
Of course I did.
Yeah. Well, if you ain't got anything you need, I mean, I can. Kay's still in town. I can work on that. And I mean, no, we can let you know what the vamps are up to, and what my folk are up to.
You and your people, you've been having a relationship with Conrad.
Yeah. Tanner's a vamp, by the way. So
That's right. What about Miss Daphne?
what about Daphne? I mean,
Do you respond to her call?
well, she had a source for me, but it kind of dried up. Why?
I've heard things.
Well, you know what they say about what you hear.
Believe every word of it and persecute your enemies mercilessly.
That's that's actually not at all what they say, Peter.
What do they say?
Uh, they say I'm not quite sure what they say, but definitely it's not believe what you hear.
I find in these past few months I've found a different approach. I believe everything I hear, and at the same time I trust none of it. These vampires that you're working with are dangerous to my kind. Working on changing us.
Yeah, but I mean, it's part of the ecosystem, right?
It is. In the city, there is an ecosystem of predators and prey.
Mm-hmm.
You should probably decide which one you're going to be.
That kind of sounded like a threat, Peter.
Do you feel threatened?
I'll be honest, a little bit, yeah.
Good. You know, I've never tried to siphon the life force from a vampire, but I'm willing to try it if you get in my way. Or if any of your people come for me.
Got it. Off limits. I think we can make that arrangement pretty easily enough.
Good.
You got a... This is kind of an awkward question to ask, but you got any leads?
On
Just
what?
some like low-level specs?
I'm not giving you any of them. The only ones I know are under my employ.
I just thought I'd ask.
But if I encounter any specs who need dealt with, that I would like to be dealt with, I'll give you a tip.
Thanks. Be great.
Send your men for me, or any of mine. I'll destroy everything. You know what I'm capable of.
Is this the part where you go?
As long as we have an understanding.
Oh, we've got an understanding, Peter. Don't worry about that.
Good. Good. I will just
No.
walk out of the wall.
You just hear like a faint like "fuck you." This is like it's that like the kid who gets their courage when the bully walks away, not when they're there.
I get that a lot.
So, all right. Well, kind of set the scene for what's been going on the last couple of weeks. Does anybody have anything else they've been thinking about? Okay. So, it's 2 weeks from the incident, and things are starting to kick off. Peter, you're spending some time at home, freshening up with your link, congregating with your body of ghosts, and you're visited. For the first time, you're surprised to see not an old friend, but an old coworker in a spectral form. It's Greg.
Oh.
And Greg is very much sort of like you last saw him, with 3 claw marks and his throat gone. Sorry. No throat got me in chat.
Gregory, what are you doing here?
I'm not quite sure.
Did you feel my call?
I don't know. Still getting used to this whole thing.
You were murdered.
Was I?
Yes. You probably don't remember. I don't remember either.
Were you murdered?
I don't know. I have my suspicions. I know that I died. I know that a miserable little oracle was somehow involved.
Was he involved in... Were they involved in my death?
I suppose...
How I got murdered?
I suppose they could have been, but... I don't think so. I don't think they would have had a reason. They don't strike me as the type to have taken an interest in municipal planning.
Why am I dead? Why am I not gone?
Because you still have a purpose to serve. And probably, as sad as it is, the purpose you serve in your afterlife will actually have more meaning than the purpose you served when you were alive.
His face kind of just drop on that, and he goes to like kind of rub his throat, and his hand kind of sinks a little deeper than it normally would. And he kind of pulls back, and there's almost like spectral blood on his hand, like the wound's fresh somehow. What? He's kind of just looking at his hand, seems to be lost.
There is a very curious game being played in our city. It revolves around some wizards, the Fae. Even a couple vampires. All manner of things that go bump in the night.
I'm sorry, that's just a lot to take in. I'm still confused. This is fresh.
As far as I can tell, you were killed because of a bridge.
Bridge.
Yes.
I don't think. I mean, doesn't seem right. A bridge.
Yeah.
What? What's the point of a bridge? All of the stuff you mentioned is real.
Truthfully, I'm only beginning to understand it myself. But some kind of project that you approved or were involved in or had knowledge of is integral to the powers of this city trying to invoke the long night on the solstice.
It's crazy. Of course, I'm dead but not dead. And he kind of like puts his hand kind of like through the wall and comes out the other side, and he's kind of just sort of still figuring out what's going on a little bit. Just project. Dude, no, it's. Have you figured any of that out, or?
Not much of it. And my notes don't know anything.
I mean, I got your caseload, but surely there's not enough. Surely it would be a coincidence that we both died, came back.
You and I both know there's no coincidences in this city. Everything happens by design.
I mean, there's a lot of planning, yeah, but murder a couple of city employees for municipal planning? It doesn't make any sense.
Perhaps we were too ethical. Maybe we were getting in the way. I don't know. I don't understand it all yet either. But there's something that we shared that got us killed.
Oh. No.
Did anyone from the government pressure you? Ask a lot of questions? Want expedited approval or for you to make something disappear?
That's all still hazy right now. I know people, I know things, but I don't remember a lot yet. Or I don't know. How does this work?
Some of it will begin to focus, but much like an image, some of the information will never be recovered.
That's stressing. I need to go focus, I think.
Sit in a dark room, alone, with your thoughts. It helps. And I'll say before he leaves, you're like an echo now, Gregory. You're not you anymore. You're just a fraction of who you once were, constantly reverberating in the abyss. But with enough time, that echo travels very far and can become even louder than you were in life.
kind of just gives you a very confused look and nods slowly and fades away. Okay. It's the morning of 2 weeks from that day, and you're finally starting to feel, at least I imagine so, not so unsettled in your own home.
Yeah, there was a lot of cleaning that happened.
Yeah, a lot of cleaning.
A lot of throwing out of things.
Mm-hmm. And you've kind of, I wouldn't say settled into a routine, but things are probably at least a little normal now. And eating some breakfast and enjoying quiet when sort of a figure made entirely of smoke corporalizes next to you in the seat across from you.
Has this happened before?
It's a similar feeling to when your patron arrives. This is not a form that you've seen before, though.
Yeah.
And they kind of the gray black smoke kind of almost shapes a face. It almost shapes a body. It almost shapes 2 hands as they sit before you. And you're not quite sure, but there's almost a smile formed in the smoke. I have a name for you.
Good morning. Put down the fork that I was eating my eggs with.
I actually have some options. I have a target or a possible recruit. Which do you want? A threat or an ally? Remove or add?
Can I hear who these people are? I thought not.
That's not how this relationship works, Kay. I admire your what's the word? How do you say it? Tenacity.
It's one of the more endearing traits I got from my father. I think we have a few too many threats. So I think getting rid of another one is probably in our best interest.
Well, in that case, there's a friend of the DuPonts. His at least current name is Felix. He might just be a husk, but a husk with no purpose is a powerful tool.
Now, did they say Dumas or Dupont?
Dumas, that's what I
Dumas.
meant.
I
to say.
figured that's fine. It's fine. Okay.
That's what I meant.
Cool. I thought you might, but I just wanted to make
Multiple,
sure we weren't
multiple
adding other
months
people.
of downtime has scrambled some brain words.
Okay.
You know his former employer. Search the Fae. And Kay. Keep up the good work. And the smoke just dissipates.
After a moment or two, Kay will, who had still been holding the fork, will just aggressively stab at the eggs on the plates.
Okay. Red. What time does Red get up now that he's not drinking?
Oddly, he's discovered that sunrise is a thing that exists and not noon.
Mm-hmm. So Steve has quickly grown accustomed to you waking up at the same time as him, as opposed to multiple hours past, and has a small breakfast prepared, eggs and bacon. It's powdered eggs. It's freezer bacon, but it's food. Matthew's face. But yeah, so he kind of so how's your search coming?
Hoping Crawford gets back to me on talking about the plan, because I don't know how that little tiff up in the mountain changed any of that. Just thinking of starting looking in on Crawford, but I think others are itching to get at him, and I don't want to add another drop in that bucket.
Yeah, there's well, if you're not busy today, I've got a proposition for you.
Sure, what you need from me? Might as well pay my rent.
So some shit's gone down in Juneau. You know this, I know this. I pulled you out of some shit. I have been out of the game for a while. Retired. Tried to keep my nose out of things. Just listen. That doesn't seem like an option.
Yeah, from what I hear, things are going to be speeding up. I mean, we got a deadline on the solstice.
Yeah. So I'm working on organizing a small group.
Is that another small group as opposed to this one that knows about bridges and such?
It's a little bit more human.
Oh yeah, okay.
I've got some friends and some old allies back in my hunting days that have kept up, and well, there's a couple of us old hats and a new recruit or two that are interested in making things right, getting rid of the threats.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So who's
Matthew, yelling at me in chat.
So, question on that: are they the kind who are indiscriminate about who they see as a threat? Because we kind of keep company of a few who aren't exactly on our.
There's room for. We don't want to create a void. We just want to right the ship.
So me dealing with Peter, Kay, they're not going to have any trouble with that.
Depends on what business they get up to, but no, this is a little bit more focused on our current issues.
All right, I'm willing to meet these folk.
All right. So they kind of, well, you kind of know the meeting place already, but I've got someone I need you to watch out for today. And he kind of turns and gives a whistle. Kid. And it's a person you recognize. But you thought they left Juneau. This is Lauren, Kay's little sister.
Kid, what are you doing?
I learned about some things, and I want to hunt. And that's where we'll cut that scene. And that we'll do our last thing for this session. Brody, it is 2 weeks from the day since you've been in a coma. You've been having visions, watching people throughout town, people you've close with, people you have no idea who they are, and you haven't really had the mental capacity to start working things out, but it feels like there's threads starting to appear between these people as your visions have been getting more and more into this sort of space. It's been one after another, and by the end of these 2 weeks, you are exhausted. You are dead tired, and you find yourself over a small, undeveloped lot. And as you're sort of like trying to pull yourself forward and move to the next vision, you slow down, and eventually you start getting pulled into this muck, and you can't help but feel like you are just beginning to just be sucked underneath. And as you get sucked underneath, there's a moment of, oh no, I can't breathe. But it passes as you realize that you have no need to breathe. And you sort of just let yourself become aware of the darkness around you. And as you let yourself become aware of the darkness around you, you start to see this faint light. And as you go a little bit further in and you feel yourself sinking more and more, you start to come across these threads again, these lines that seem to run out from this single point. And as you sort of fall into this center, kind of become aware of everything in Juneau all at once. You can you instantly at the same time see these happenings across town. You see all of your friends and enemies and allies and all of these random people you've been seeing over these 2 weeks. You see them all going about their lives, and it's overwhelming. And you feel yourself begin to get that feeling where you can't breathe again, but this time it doesn't go away. And you begin to choke and cough and struggle. And the next thing you know, you're awake in a hospital bed. And that's where we'll wrap. So I know it's a little short, but I wanted to do things a little bit more structured. Next week we'll get into doing all of our rumors and all of that stuff, start using some moves, get back more into the chaotic Urban Shadows playstyle. But I wanted to help set the scene for this season. So
Wow.
so I would like everyone to go around, introduce yourselves again, and then talk about favorite moment, and let's talk about one expectation for this season. So we finished with Matthew last time, so Matthew, if you want to start us off.
Yeah, hey folks. As always, I'm Matthew Foreman. This was nice. Favorite moment and expectation. Okay. I think that my favorite moment. I really enjoyed the scene where the Dark Power offered Kay offered them a choice between an ally or a new enemy. I thought that was very interesting. And I am getting this, like, all I could think of how Kay probably they just want to just be left alone, and yet here we are. Expectation. I think that, and this is gonna sound crazy, I think that this season is going to be more violent. I think, yeah, this season's going to be more violent. Yep.
All right. Ty.
I am Ty. You can find me on Twitter at Brawler. I'm here and on Dice Priority and Dice Mystery Society. My favorite moment from the night. It was probably Gregory coming back. I think that's a good, interesting NPC we didn't really get to interact with, but coming back in a ghostly way could be interesting to figure out that information. And I like his oozing ghost wound. That was pretty great. Expectation for this season. I look forward to seeing characters be handed over to Terran. Some PCs being handed over to Terran and then used terribly.
I'm also very excited about that expectation. Yeah. Max.
Max at allmaxd20 on the Twitters. My favorite part of the night was Maria's face when you brought Lauren out. That was, I did not see most of this coming. You're just bringing these people back who we thought were dead or gone. So I'm just enjoying seeing these throwbacks because, I mean, it's been some months. And expectations for it is this is going to be more fast paced as we are 2 weeks further into the future, getting closer to that solstice, and a lot of plans have to come around. So there's going to be a lot of movement, a lot less just wandering around and trying to find where we're supposed to be.
Awesome. And Maria.
Hello. I'm Maria. You can find me at Happy Capster on Twitter. And I live here on Variant Rules a few days a week, like on Thursdays with Project VHS, and Sundays are here, and Mondays is starting Grim Femmes, run by Emma. It's going to be amazing. We premiere tomorrow. Come see us at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's when we go live. My favorite moment, jeez.
I threw a lot at you. I'm sorry.
No, the default is all. But if I had to choose one, because I can't choose none, I really liked the visions that Brody was getting. I thought it was really interesting that they were like lucid dreams, but not really dreams because it was real stuff happening. I thought that was really cool. And then Lauren, because she's not supposed to be here. Why is she here? What's she doing here? Get out of here. Go home. Or not home. Stay away from home.
Yeah.
Expectations. I have to agree with Matthew W. Foreman. I think that this is going to be much more deliberate and cutthroat. Not necessarily cutthroat, but like we're going to be more willing to do bigger things to get what we want or to save what we have. Because we kind of know what's at stake now, or at least from Kay's perspective. Kay has nothing to lose anymore. So they think. Yeah.
It'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
It'll be fine. Everything's great.
Yeah. And then I'm Taryn. I'm the MC. You can find me on Tarzan. Find me at Twitter or on Twitter at TarzanOZ. I promise I've done this before. I really promise. But yeah, so favorite moment for tonight was getting to kick things off and kind of help you guys kind of set a structure and start seeing expectations and maybe circumventing them as we get into the further into the season, or maybe seeing them fulfilled. My expectation is more awesome work from my players, honestly. I know that sounds cheesy, but I really it's yeah, I just think it's going to be another great round of episodes or sessions. Yeah. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining us. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on with variant roles starting basically now. There's a bunch of stuff that kicked off Grand Fems. There's Velvet Soiree on Tuesdays. Basically, follow us on Twitter. Check out that. We tweet about everything there. And then, yeah, just don't forget to follow and subscribe if you really like what we do here. And then we also have a Patreon that you can support us through month to month. But thanks everybody for joining us. I know this is kind of an early end, but normally we run 2 hours, but I really wanted to get everything sort of wrapped up, and then we'll have Knox back next week and we can kick off things with Daphne and get Daphne wrapped up into the webs of shadows as Juneau comes out of its hibernation. So but yeah, does anybody else have anything else they want to plug before we kick off? We've got some time.
I've got one other thing.
Oh, yeah.
I and my husband have a website where we post a lot of D&D 5e homebrew magic items. It's called Goblin Society Games, or at Society Goblins on Twitter. We're posting a lot of cool things. We're going to be starting some new projects in the new year, so hang out. Check out all the stuff we posted so far. We try to post semi-regularly throughout the week with new stuff that's coming out. Yeah, that's my only other one.
I wanted to mention, so over on Dice Priority, twitch.tv/Dice Priority, we are going through a mini-series right now on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Central called Cold Suns. It's really good, first of all. It's the Expanse RPG and /Age Engine. It's a sci-fi convergence where I play a mystic warrior with a plasma saber because of copyrights, because Disney. And we have had some wonderful support by our friends at Green Run, and we're doing giveaways there, and be sure to check that out. We're trying to work on something big for you, but I really want to just say, check that out. And for those of you who really like this more narrative focused system, I'm really starting to enjoy Age because it combines the best of both action and tactics and narrative. So check us out. 7 p.m. Dice Priority Wednesdays.
And stunts are a lot of fun.
Oh, they're so fun!
If you like
Stunts are the
sci-fi,
best.
it is the best of all of the sci-fi smushed into one.
It's so good.
Oh my god!
It's a passion project of Chase, and he is a sci-fi geek, so he just does a great job. That's it.
Awesome. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you right here next week. Yeah, we're gonna see where things go in Juneau. So
We'll find out what darkness beckons.
oh, darkness beckons you all. So
Bye.